Hi VC, Dale Gate 433 here to do a vinyl finds video. This is my holiday vinyl find. So I got back yesterday from Somerset, stayed for a week in a sort of bungalow there in the same town as my parents live in. So saw my parents, took them out for a meal, went to see them, saw my sister and brother-in-law, visited a few places. My wife caught up with a few friends that she's taught with in the past that have moved down to Somerset. So yeah, so all of that. But within that, I managed to fit in a few digs. So I managed to get to three record shops and three of these sort of retro, sort of antique barn type places where they have lots of different sellers. In each of them, actually, there was pretty good collections or selections of vinyl. So in amongst all of that digging, I only managed to come up with this, and within this, about half of it are records that I've already got. So I don't know what was going on there. So so I'll explain. So I think I did. We went to Seaton and went on the tram. And the tram stops at a place where there is an antiques mall, which has got almost like it's a mini record shop, because it's got like half a floor dedicated to vinyl. Wasn't much there. It was a lot of common stuff, cheapo stuff, but not price cheap. And that tends to be sort of a theme for the week. Also then went to my wife. My wife went to see a friend for a cup of tea, so I went to again to a local antiques place, and that had like three different vinyl sellers sellers that had vinyl. One area had a lot of soul, so John 16 probably would have been able to pick some stuff out, but I didn't really know what I was looking for. It was a lot of sort of mid-70s to sort of early 80s stuff, which is outside my knowledge sphere. There were three Parliament records which I was really tempted by, but again, as seemed to be the theme, these are kind of sellers who sell other things and records. They look like they'd gone onto Discogs and looked at the prices and picked the top price for every record. So I wasn't in the mood for negotiating on prices particularly, and in these places you normally have to ring up the seller, or they can give 10% off and that's it. So I thought, well, these things were quite high priced, so unfortunately, because you don't see UK Parliament records very often, but I passed on those. So eventually I ended up at a record shop that I really enjoyed going to last year, is Clock Tower Music in Bridport. So having been to, I think, 2 antique malls and a record shop and come out empty-handed, I ended up there. Really great stuff, some really interesting records, fair prices, not cheap prices, but fair prices for what it was. And could have bought a lot in there, but I was incredibly restrained, and I think I ended up with just 2 records. And you could argue one I didn't need, so you could argue both I didn't need. So first up is this. It is the Go-Betweens 1978 to 1990 double compilation album of the Go-Betweens. An artist I really like. I've got 3 of their albums, and so I'm in an eye on this, because I thought, well, I've got three albums, and probably my 3 favourite albums. Do I need a compilation? But when I looked more closely at the track listing, so I've got Liberty Bell, Tallulah and 16 Lovers Lane on vinyl already, but on this sort of, I think there's about 24 tracks on this, only about 8 I think were from those 3 albums. So there was still 16 tracks that were either from other albums or were kind of singles and B-sides. So I thought, well, that's interesting, I'll give that a go then. So and this was, I think it was £30 he had it at, which is fair price, but it had a little mark on it. So we were going to test play it, and then it played fine, but then it's noticed it had a kind of bit of a warp on it as well, which didn't affect play. But he said, oh, I'll knock a tenner off. So I got it for 20 quid, which was okay. Similarly, he had 2 copies of this album, Half Breed, one of my favourite albums. I love Keith Hartley Band. I've got their 4 sort of main 4 studio albums, good 70s or late 60s, early 70s, sort of rock, blues rock. Really like the band. I had this album. I paid a lot of money for it. It's got a really annoying. I bought it in a kind of record fair that was quite dimly lit. It's got a mark you can hardly see, but it's one of those scratches that goes with the grooves, that going across the grooves and closes the grooves off. So when initially it skipped, I managed to kind of just prise the groove apart a bit with a toothpick, wooden toothpick, and now it just ticks for 30 seconds or more, which really annoys me. So this was 2 of these, one at 40 and one at 30. Both of them had marks on. We test played them, and I went with the kind of, this one's got a light mark all the way across one of the sides, but it looks like a scuff. Played okay, and again he knocked some money off. I ended up getting this for 20 quid instead of the 40 quid. But it was, so he's, but yeah, he had lots of really good stuff. I could have spent a fortune, but I didn't. So that was Clock Tower Records. Highly recommended if you're in Bridport to go there. So the remainders, the next 2 are from one from a charity shop in Crewkerne itself. John Baggy Hi-Fi showed this, I think, from his recent finds. This was in a charity shop, a couple of quid. Looked really clean. A record I don't need because I did buy the double vinyl reissue of Delta Suite last year, and this is a Music for Pleasure. Essentially it is the Delta Suite tracks, but I like Bobby Gentry. I would have bought it just for the kind of, just to have it anyway. Similarly, I went through some of the antique malls. They all had, they had some really good stuff, some interesting stuff. I was unexpected, but again, top end prices, just ridiculous prices. I did in one of them, I kind of pulled together 4 records that came to about 40, just 42, 41 pounds, I think. And I got them to ring the seller and said, look, 2 of them are definitely overpriced. I'll offer 30, and he phoned the seller, and the seller said, he'll do 33, and I said, no, I'm not even going to do 33. So for the sake of £3, I just said, no thanks, I'll pass. But one album I did find for a good price, £8, was a first press, textured press of one of my all-time favourite albums. One year, Colin Blunstone. So this looked really clean, so I'm just going to test it to see if it's cleaner than the copy I've got, and I'll get rid of the other one because they go for much more than £8. I think they go for about 15-20 quid. So I took a chance on this. So again, so that's what, 3 out of 4 records I've already got. Having done all of that searching and all of that digging, I bought 3 records out of 4 records that I'd already got. And then on the way home, what I tend to do is we'll leave 9ish to sort of 10ish. We're going through Wilton, and there's a small record shop in Wilton that only opens on Thursday afternoons, Friday afternoons, and Saturdays, and called LSD Records. LSD for pounds, shillings, and pence. And they have an upstairs where it's all the stuff that's kind of not worth them selling. Downstairs, it's a very small shop, and it's all kind of £3. Everything upstairs is £3, and then downstairs they have some real quality stuff, certainly rare stuff anyway. There was original Duskfire there, and a lot of psych stuff, a lot of 300, 400, 500 pound albums downstairs, which I didn't buy any of those, and I only ended up actually in the end getting 3 albums from upstairs. And again, probably 2 of these I've got, so 5 out of 7 albums I've got. So I'll start with one I haven't got. Sweet Fanny Adams. So I know Richard McCook is into Sweet and has a lot of it. So this, it's not a great copy. The laminate's lifting, and the vinyl has got a few marks on it. Hopefully it'll clean up. But for 3 quid, I thought I'll delve into a bit of Sweet other than the kind of glam singles. So I gave that a chance. Next up, China Crisis, their album Flaunt the Imperfection. So I've got the debut China Crisis album on vinyl. This is their 3rd. I picked this up on CD at a car boot sales, which hence I've already got it technically, a few months ago for 50p, and quite enjoyed it more than I thought I would enjoy it. So so I saw the vinyl, looked in nice condition, £3, picked that up. And then another album that I've had but don't have anymore. Oops. So that's why I class it as I've had this album and purged it, and I now thought I need to give it another go. I don't know why I purged it. It's kind of a bit of a classic sort of post-punk album, Tom Robinson Band. So I bought that as well. So that is my haul of 6 lots of digging. Yeah, so not ideal. However, there is a twist in the tale. I did manage to score a big haul by chance when I was in one of the record shops, or linked to one of the record shops. So what I'll do is I'll stop this video here, and I'll come back and do a separate video about that haul that I got. It's nothing too exciting, but it's fairly exciting for me anyway. So yeah, so that's my holiday finds. Cheers VC, bye.